Hello, it's me again. So happy to see you all. Today, I'm going to reveal a secret about Matt's return that could cause chaos among the Newman family members. What are you expecting from Matt's return this time? Matt Clark returns. Secrets from the past threaten Newman. Matt Clark wasn't handed over to the police. He escaped, and now he's back in Genoa City, bringing with him shocking secrets about how Victor and Nick treated him in the past. He threatens to expose everything, ruining the reputation and empire of the Newman family, especially Victor, whom Nikki fears will act outlaw. Matt wants a large sum of money or a position of power to keep quiet, plunging the Newman family into an unprecedented legal and media crisis. Matt Clark's return to Genoa City doesn't land like the defeat everyone expected, hands cuffed, escorted by police, the problem neatly contained. It lands like a stubborn shadow that slips through every prediction the Newmans made to comfort themselves. The rumor spreads faster than any official statement. Matt was never handed over to the authorities. He escaped. And now he's back in the very city that watched him get treated like collateral damage, back in the place where he was turned into a mess to be cleaned up. This isn't a simple reappearance. It is a brutal reminder that the past never truly dies. It only waits, quiet and patient, for the exact moment when it can stab straight into the softest part of a powerful family's armor. Matt returns carrying something far more dangerous than anger. He returns with secrets, explosive truths about how Victor and Nick once treated him. And those truths are large enough to shake the Newman name at its foundations, poisonous enough to turn decades of prestige into a liability overnight. What makes the situation even more volatile is that Matt doesn't come back by knocking on the front door. He slides into Genoa City through the cracks opened by the chaos already in motion, and the biggest crack, the one that bleeds the easiest, is Nick. Nick's dependence on pills has been an ache in the background, a fracture everyone senses, but no one wants to say out loud too often. Matt sees that fracture for what it really is, a door. He uses Nick's vulnerability as a route of entry, not needing noise or spectacle-only proximity, only the ability to apply pressure like a hand tightening around someone's throat. Nick is already stretched thin, trying to control himself while also protecting the image of stability in front of his family, in front of Sharon, in front of his own conscience. Matt understands that tension the way a predator understands the breathing of prey. He doesn't need to build traps. Nick's condition is the trap. And the moment Nick realizes Matt has found his way close, the first fear that rises isn't purely fear of Matt, it's fear that his weakness will be used as leverage to drag Victor down with him. Matt doesn't return to demand justice, he returns to set a price. A massive payout, or a position of real power, something strong enough to purchase his silence. The demand sounds like extortion because it is, yet it arrives wrapped in cold, brutal logic. If the Newman Empire once used power to crush him, then he will use the truth to force them to pay. Matt turns secrets into currency, turns silence into a service, turns the survival of a dynasty into a number and a chair at the table. In Victor's world, filthy transactions are not unheard of, but what changes everything is the direction of control. This time Victor is not holding the knife, Matt is. And the blade is pressed against the one thing Victor treasures most, control itself. So when Victor and Nick finally face Matt, it isn't merely a tense scene of men measuring each other's strength. It's the moment they have to ask themselves what Matt truly knows, what proof he possesses, how far he is willing to go. Victor steps into that confrontation with instincts sharpened by years of warfare. Evaluate, dominate, locate the weakness, find the route to silence. But for once, there is a rare irritation under his composure, the discomfort of not knowing whether he can still dictate the rhythm of the game. Nick's experience is different. Nick wants to stand with his father to protect the family name, yet he also feels a pull to retreat, because he is fighting his own body and mind even as the world demands he perform strength. Every time Nick looks at Matt, he doesn't just see a threat, he sees a mirror reflecting the darker parts of his past, the parts he tried to bury. The part of him that once followed Victor into choices he would rather not claim. That reflection destabilizes him. It aggravates the cravings. It intensifies the internal chaos. Nick is not only afraid of what Matt could reveal. He is afraid of what he might be forced to admit to himself. Nikki feels the shadow closing in more sharply than anyone. Her fear is not limited to what Matt might do in the press or the courts. Her deeper fear is Victor's reaction when he's cornered. She has seen too many moments in their history when Victor chooses an outside-the-law solution the instant he believes his family is threatened. Nikki's love for Victor has always carried a darker twin fear that he will cross a line he cannot uncross. And this time that line is no longer abstract. It has a name, Matt Clark. A scandal with the potential to become a legal and media wildfire. A pressure point that could push Nick into a public collapse. A storm large enough to drag Nikki down with everyone she is trying to protect. Nikki isn't only guarding the Newman reputation. She is guarding the last fragments of Victor's humanity, the part of him she still hopes exists beneath the ruthless reflexes. While Victor calculates, Matt moves first. He releases only part of the secret publicly, not everything, just enough to detonate a shockwave and force the Newman family to react. It is like tossing a lit match into gasoline. Immediate flames, immediate questions, immediate suspicion, headlines sharp enough to cut. The story begins to frame Victor and Nick in the worst possible light: power abused, a man mistreated, justice twisted. Even without full details, the public doesn't need the whole truth to pass judgment. In the world of media, half a story can demolish an image built over decades. Suddenly, the Newmans aren't a symbol of success and influence. They are a target. Their rivals don't waste the opportunity. When an empire wobbles, wolves arrive. The attacks come without gunfire, delivered instead through strategic leaks, aggressive bargaining, pressure campaigns, and carefully timed blows. Each day, the Newman family is forced to defend themselves on two fronts: the media feeding frenzy outside, and the predators circling their businesses. The sense of siege thickens the air inside the family until it becomes hard to breathe. Every meeting, every glance, every unspoken question carries the same underlying dread. How long can we keep this contained? Inside that storm, Nick carries a double weight. Matt uses him as the access point, pushing him toward the center of the scandal while also forcing him to confront the moral grime of power and the ghosts of the past. At the same time, Nick's addiction worsens under relentless stress. He tries to hold himself together, to look normal, but his body betrays him: tremors, lapses, moments when his mind feels like it's falling into a terrifying blank space. Nick understands the cruel math. Every time he weakens, Matt grows stronger. He also knows Sharon is watching him not to control him, but because she is terrified he will slip beyond reach. Yet even Sharon's care can feel like pressure. Her attention, born from love, sometimes makes Nick feel examined, as if he has no privacy even with his pain. He is fighting cravings, shame, and the crushing fear that he has become the family's exposed nerve. Sharon stands in the middle of it all with a worrying that is both tender and razor-sharp. She sees the man she knows, but she also sees someone reshaped by pressure, slowly distorted by a battle he doesn't fully admit he's losing. She wants to anchor Nick in the present, to pull him away from self-destruction, but every step closer risks triggering him like a man trapped in a corner. Sharon doesn't need dialogue to express the conflict. Her eyes alone can carry the fear that Nick will choose pills as escape, that he will try to disappear before Matt can finish tearing the Newmans apart. And Sharon understands something painfully clear. If Nick collapses in public, Matt wins even without playing his final card. Victor faces Matt with a mix of fury and forced clarity. He sees an opportunist, but he also sees a problem that refuses to be solved cleanly because it touches the past and ethics. Victor despises being threatened. He hates being made to pay. Yet he also knows that outside the law solutions can end one problem instantly while creating a far worse one if exposed. The most dangerous element is not Victor's capability, but his habit. Victor is used to winning, used to finding a shortcut, used to bending the world until it obeys him. That habit is exactly what Nikki fears. She looks at Victor and cannot tell which version of him will rise because each possible path threatens to destroy the thing she's trying to preserve, not only the Newman name, but the idea of family as something more than a brand. The reputational crisis stops being something printed on paper and becomes something that seeps into private spaces, into quiet moments, into the walls of the Newman world. The family is forced to confront a bitter question. Do they yield to Matt, or do they risk total collapse? Yielding means letting a blackmailer into the circle of power. It means accepting extortion, setting the precedent that anyone holding secrets can purchase influence. Refusing means fighting, but the fight will not only happen in boardrooms and headlines, it will happen inside the family, where Nick is fragile, where Nikki is afraid, where Victor's ruthless instincts are waking up. Every option tastes like loss, every decision threatens to change them into something they will no longer recognize. Matt maintains pressure with terrifying patience. He doesn't need constant noise. His presence alone is a reminder that buried truths can be dug up. He releases information in calculated fragments, just enough to keep the media hungry, just enough to keep rivals aggressive, just enough to keep the Newmans panicking. He controls the tempo of fear. He turns the Newmans into people who react instead of act. And while Victor fights to regain control, Nick fights to regain control of himself. Nikki fights to keep Victor from crossing the line. And Sharon fights to keep Nick from falling. Everyone is holding the same rope, pulling in different directions, tightening it until it feels ready to snap. Then the confrontation triggers an unexpected event, something that changes the entire landscape. It doesn't arrive with an explosion. It arrives like a moment when the heart seems to stop, because a realization lands with brutal clarity. Matt is no longer merely a blackmailer standing outside the gate. He has reached the center of the Newman world. That shock forces every strategy to be rewritten. It makes Victor and Nick look at each other differently. It turns Nikki's fears from intuition into something dangerously close to certainty. And it makes Sharon realize that her vigilance may not be enough to stop Nick's spiral. The limits they assumed Matt had were only the surface layer. He has gone deeper. He has done more. And that means the Newmans now have fewer choices than they thought, and the ones left are more terrifying. And here, imagining a family so powerful it believes it cannot fall, being strangled by a name from the past and a handful of secrets, I can't help feeling a very real chill. Not because of the money or the status, but because of what pressure reveals. Nick wanting to do the right thing while being dragged backward by addiction, Nikki loving Victor while fearing him. Victor protecting his family while being willing to destroy every boundary to win. There is something painfully human in that contradiction, and it makes the story heavy, but also impossible to look away from because it resembles real life in the cruelest way. Sometimes the thing that threatens you isn't a new enemy. It's what you did long ago and convinced yourself was gone. And as night settles over Genoa City, before the Newman family can even steady themselves after that shock, a new leak begins to whisper through the cracks, hinting that Matt is holding a truth far bigger than what he has already released. A truth that could force Victor to choose an outside-the-law move immediately, or force Nick to confess the one thing he fears most in front of the entire world, and this time. One wrong step will mean there is no way back. On our TV Spoilers channel, I always seek content inspiration for each video by compiling short video clips to analyze and offer my personal opinions. This channel specializes in analyzing, theorizing, and discussing plot points in the Young and the Restless series from the perspective of a longtime fan. Through this, viewers can gain deeper, more objective, and more interesting perspectives. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest news about the Young and the Restless series.